Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the March 12th edition of MEDCO University, sponsored tonight by our good friends and loyal supporter, SATA Spray Equipment. Tonight's host is Tony Larimer, who is the Director of Sales and Marketing for the Dan Company, which are the exclusive distributor of SATA in the U.S. and in Puerto Rico. As always, tonight's presentation will be recorded and posted up on the MEDCO website tomorrow for any of your fellow workers or teams that weren't able to attend tonight and want to listen in to share in the valuable information we're going to hear. If you move your mouse to the top of your screen, you'll see a small toolbar drop down. One of the icons in that toolbar is a chat room. If you have questions during tonight's presentation, please just click on the chat icon and type your question in and send it to the name Eric Stern, and I will forward your question on to Tony, and he'll be able to either stop the presentation and answer it, or we'll make sure we get covered at the end. As always, I really appreciate your attendance tonight. Look forward to being able to hand out one of the new SATA airbrushes tomorrow based on the participants in tonight's meeting. So with that, Tony, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me okay, Mark?
Yes, you're good.
Okay, good. All right, we'll get started here. The course objectives here. Some of the things that we've seen a lot lately, or we had seen over the past couple of years, were some pretty common issues. And those issues were the following. That we needed to overcome, and they were having proper filtration in airlines, spray gun maintenance. We really saw a need to teach what best practices and use of equipment is and how to use that equipment for the best productivity and performance. We knew it was important to get involved with ICAR and to do training that not only can help improve people's profitability, but their efficiency as well. So this year we now have 3 ICAR classes that we're going to talk about here in just a few minutes. Also, to use our products in the way that they were designed, but in a way with today's new products that helps get perfect results. Certainly redos are costly, and so if there's things that we can do to help prevent costly redos and product waste, it certainly helps your shops be more efficient and certainly makes them better customers as well. When we were doing trainings over the last few years across the country for the EPA Rule 46H rule, we found some very consistent issues that faced most painters and most shops across the country. Things like improper gun maintenance and improper gun settings, actually learning how to use them correctly, but definitely gun maintenance has become a real issue with people doing things the way they maybe had for several years, and these products today aren't allowing that. So we'll go into a little detail on that. Improper air volume through using either just small filters on the wall, regulators that did not have enough volume, water traps that didn't have any particulate separation, but definitely didn't have enough air volume, and trying to use too small of hoses, too small of airlines and fittings were really issues that we saw a lot when we were across the country teaching those classes. Improper air quality, again, that comes from the filtration side, and just maybe the way a plumbing system is laid out so that you can't possibly eliminate the corrosion, the dust, the dirt, the debris, the silicone from desiccant. All of that was causing paint failures that we were seeing across the country. And then lastly, the improper airline plumbing, where shops just simply weren't laid out correctly. And that's something that if we can teach that, it's something that a distributor walking in a shop can help someone very easily do a plumbing change that might very well improve their air volume to the paint booth. So we were in process the last few years of building a new ICAR training program, and since that time we have received that approval and now are ready to do 3 different classes across the country, one being a 2-hour class on gun maintenance and setup, and 2 separate 1-hour classes, one on air filtration and breathing equipment, and one on, which would be safety, and another on air filtration and proper plumbing. So they're all 3 will meet the requirements for ICAR Gold or ICAR Platinum, as well as the new Pro Series for the 2-hour class. So those are all going to be beneficial, and they can be done across the country, and we'll talk more about that in just a minute. We also aimed our training at the problems and how to find some very good solutions. First being filtration. I'm not going to go into all of the details on filtration tonight, but I do want to show you a few things that will be discussed in the ICAR class and something that can be very beneficial to all of our customers in the shop level. I mean, good quality air filtration is necessary for spraying today's waterborne top coats, as well as the high solids clear coats and products that we're using. So creating cleaner paint jobs, and more importantly, the ability to provide breathing air quality air for your safety and for your painting certainly helps to eliminate issues. Air is needed for clean air, and compressed air is necessary for two things: for material feed and for material atomization, because we have to both suck the paint out of a spray gun and we have to be able to atomize it. And if we don't have adequate volume, we can't do either one of those things well. We want it to be clean, free from dust, dirt, and silicone. Many times that word silicone we blame on the detail shop, and it's many cases that's not where the painters are having the issue. They're actually having the issue because they're getting desiccant media breaking down, that is silica gel, breaking down in their filters, and it's blowing out of the end of a paint gun and getting into a paint job. We're also seeing rust particles and dust particles, and as shops start adding refrigerant dryers, what happens many times is they maybe have had black pipe in their shop for 20 years. They've had humidity in their lines for 20 years, and then all of a sudden they put in a refrigerant dryer that doesn't have any particle separation, and their filters on the end of their line don't have decent particle separation, and it turns all of that rusty water that's inside those pipes into an orange dust. And so that definitely can get through into your paintwork, cause staining. We find it many times in spray guns that come in for cleaning, and they're clogged full of dust, which is rust particles. We also want our air to be free from condensate or water and oil. So we offer that solution with automatic drain valves. We offer it with very fine particle separation, and we can eliminate oil all the way down to vapor form. Which leads us into the next thing. We need to be rid of oil vapors, especially when we start moving into high solids clear coats, which are very sensitive to oil vapors. The other thing that we have to watch it with is when we spray waterborne, because with water, oil does not mix with it. And so unlike when we use a solvent base coat, where if we do get a little contamination, we can back up and dry spray a little bit of solvent base and maybe fill a crater. But with water, it just doesn't do that. When we have oil, it wants to lay on top of the surface. It doesn't mix with it. And when we apply the next coat, we see the water-based products trying to run away from that contamination, and it almost looks blotchy. Or we'll see when you spray it and you get oil into a waterborne base where it floats to the surface, or we have just in vapor form, lays on top of the surface of water, and we don't find out until we try to clear coat it, and then we have some contamination issues there. Or we can find out down the road 6 months when we get a stone chip and clear coat starts to come off the top of the base coat in water, because just simply couldn't have it even because there was an oil vapor laying on top. So those are important things. We definitely need sufficient air volume. Today we're using more air than ever, running Vision hoods, we're running dry jets, blow dryers, we're running HVLP spray guns, we're running DAs. If you take an air tool like a Dynabrade Spirit tool, it can use as much as 16 CFM. And so we're really putting our compressors to the test. But more importantly, if we don't have enough volume coming through the filtration system that we have, then we lose all that volume and our tools don't run properly. Certainly our paint work turns out badly. And at the bottom you can see where it says bad paint jobs are expensive and are certainly an obstacle to smooth operation. This slide I'm just going to go over quickly, but it does show a few examples of some contamination, and it re-emphasizes the fact that those small amounts of oil in residue form or in vapor form or mist simply don't mix well with water. So they do want to roll to or go to the top of the surface and cause contamination issues and coating flaws. We're going to talk more about that in our ICAR classes. If we have those ICAR classes with you, you will definitely see where where we go into more detail about that. Other things such as dust and dirt inclusions that come out of the spray gun, desiccant particles that have broken down that blow through a spray gun, those are all obstacles that the shops face every day. Many times they look at paintwork and they see what looks like a pinhole, and if you magnify that, you see one of these shiny little specks in it, and we realize later that we usually blame that on, somebody will think maybe they didn't get all the clear coat out of their gun, maybe it was dried clear or hardener that maybe they didn't see, they had some crust around the lid that got into it, and they'll think they just didn't strain it out. But in fact, it's just simply desiccant that's blowing right out of their filters, through their hoses, and into their paintwork and causing those issues. So we need to eliminate that. Rust particles from airlines are another common problem. The filters are set up we have 3 stages. The first stage, if you look to the right side, it just says over here where it's used for pneumatically operated equipment, blowguns, spray gun and cleaning machines, so in a mixing room or out in an area of the shop, maybe where they're running DAs or air tools. It has a large diameter surface inner chamber for a huge amount of air volume, 129.6 CFM. It has a very nice smooth operating gauge, a regulator, pressure regulator on top that's very easy to turn, a sintered bronze element on the inside of the cutaway that is a 5-micron filter, along with a water cyclone device that's used to spin the air and toss the particles and moisture to the outside, where it's drained away at the bottom by a fully automatic discharge valve. And that discharge valve, whether it's, this thing can be set manual or automatic. It's set on automatic. On all of our new ones, all you do is press the stem at the bottom and up, and it will open the valve so you can manually drain it. But ours is the only one that's a fully automatic drain valve, where even if I have 80 or 90 pounds of line pressure, if there's moisture inside this canister, it will release, and pressure will press the moisture out of it through the drain valve. Now, each filter comes with a long clear hose that we recommend either running it down through the grates in the floor, underneath into the pit, or drill a hole at the base of the booth and purge that so that the moisture and contamination and oil exits the paint booth. Because as many times we'll see shops set up and you go in there and they have a manual drain valve on the wall, and they'll go over and open that maybe before a paint job, and it blows oily water all over the paint booth wall, and you'll see yellow stains on those walls. And then the same painter takes the same hand and goes and grabs a tack rag and wipes the car off, and then wonders later why they have contamination issues or rag marks in a paint job. So that simple drain valve works very well. The inside of the canisters are coated with a polished anodizing to prevent corrosion and simply make them be rinsed or wiped clean very easily when they're removed. We can add a second stage. The 2-stage filter, if you're spraying solvent-borne paints, works great. It filters air down to 0.01 microns, and now it's clean enough that I can actually breathe with a supplied air respirator. And you can put a charcoal belt unit on the supplied air respirator and breathe this air. You can just use this for spraying any solvent-borne materials. It's 99.998 technically clean air. It's really just the way most people can, if they're spraying solvent, can use this and have excellent results. Now, if we move into a waterborne shop, we do have a 3rd stage that has the charcoal stage. And you can either buy these filters separately, each piece, and add them as you go. They're modular, or you buy it simply, if you're going to go into a waterborne shop, we buy it as a 484 filter. This one's used for application of waterborne paints. That charcoal element, not only does it go beyond the 0.01 micron range, but it now picks up oil vapors, hydrocarbons, odors, everything in that last stage, so that my air is 100% technically clean. If I want to run more than one painter off of these units, because they're 129.6 CFM, there's plenty of room to use them for multiple painters, multiple hoods. We can plumb them in line, and after the filter, we can run a piping system that splits off and goes to both paint booths. So maybe this thing is mounted between the booths in the mixing room, but it gives us one filter to maintain and very, very clean air, dry air. So we'll do this. This is a big part of one of the ICAR classes that we offer. Gun maintenance has been absolutely something that we've taken painters that have had 20 years maybe of poor experience or of doing things the wrong way, and it's time we educate people a little bit better on how to clean guns. So we'll do this one. This next few slides is going to talk about manually cleaning by hand or with a gun washer. Nozzle set disassembly certainly is something that you'd think it'd be simple, but we see a lot of people that do some things poorly. Here we're just showing removal of the fluid control knob and then remove the needle before they put a wrench on the fluid tip and try and turn the fluid tip off while the needle's pressed into it, which can cause damage to both the tip and the needle with excessive wear. So we like to show it. Take the needle off first, followed by the air cap, then the fluid tip. In our spanner wrenches, there is a hole in the center of it that's designed to perfectly fit those fluid tips and remove those much better than a vice grip or a pliers, which can cause teeth marks on the front of the fluid nozzle, and it just does not allow the air to flow smoothly across that fluid tip that comes through the air cap, and it causes paint fans to fail. Biggest thing is we got to make sure that when we're using a cleaning solution that we flush the body with that solution. If you're using brushes to clean them, use non-metal brushes. We provide several different shapes of brushes that we're going to show here in just a minute. And then if it's waterborne, please finally rinse it clean with a clean solution. So many of the paint companies do sell their own cleaning solutions. What we found with many of the waterborne cleaning solutions is that they're mixed 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 with water. And when you add water to them, the pH level rises above 10, so it becomes very caustic to the gun surface. So it's important that you need to rinse it afterwards with something clean and with neutral pH. And then certainly at the end of the day, even rinsing them with an acetone to final clean them. But we need to make sure that at the end of the day, when painters are all done using this equipment, that they're blowing it dry or wiping it dry with towels, but definitely blowing out behind the fluid nozzle and blowing out the air cap ring, blowing out behind all the controls is a vital way to keep those guns in working order so that the next day when you come in, they're in perfect working order. The other thing is many painters, when they get done cleaning it, whether it's in a gun washer or by hand, they'll just plug the hose in and blow the spray gun out. One critical step that we need to make sure we're telling people to do is you'll see here we've got the trigger pulled, turn that air micrometer knob at the rear of that gun back and forth while you have the trigger pulled, and what that does, it forces air in and out of all the small passages on these spray guns, and it creates a vacuum that sucks all of that resin and thinner that's inside that gun out of the gun. Plus turn the fan control knob. So turn the air micrometer and fan control knobs back and forth to force air in and out of all those passages, and it's going to dry that gun out. And it'll be surprising if you get a chance, go to a shop, watch it go through a gun washer cycle, take it out, plug it into air, and just blow it out. Then pull that trigger again and twist those knobs back and forth. You'll be surprised at how much excess solvent comes out of that spray gun. And that's in the air passages, and if it's just left alone, it starts to dry. And if that isn't perfectly clean thinner, it's something that's been in a gun washer for a while, it can be very dirty. And that just becomes sticky, and it just causes things to stick to it, and eventually the spray gun stops functioning correctly. Using a gun washer, making sure obviously that you put the spray gun inside the washer over the jets, clamp the trigger open, and it is critical that if there's an air inlet fitting inside the gun, and this one it's just got like a nylon barb that goes down inside the inlet. This one I think is a Uniram unit, but by plug that inside, it forces a slight amount of air through the gun that doesn't allow as much to jet into the front of the spray gun and fill all of those air passages. So that's pretty important that if you're selling a gun washer to people, that you're making sure, no matter what brand the gun washer is, that it has that air inlet that can force air through those passages. Next, it always used to be that people would take their air cap off and place it over one of the other jets in there. The unfortunate part about doing that is that it just opens up all of the passages that are behind that fluid nozzle, the two main air passages that go through the gun. It allows them to get completely filled with solvent or dirty water or whatever is in the gun washer, and it causes severe damage to those spray guns eventually, just causing them all to clog up or not function at all. So leave that air cap on the spray gun. Run the full gun washer cycle first, and then if needed, final clean with non-metal brushes if necessary, or use the clean rinse cycle that's available on most gun washers. Rinse a dirty cleaning solution from the gun body, and dry the passages. Again, blow them dry when you're done. That's important. And then I can't stress this same picture enough. make sure when they plug their gun in after they clean it to blow it out and turn those knobs. At the end of the day, they really should take their fluid nozzle out, make sure that they look over the fluid tip, see if it has any paint drying on it. The air cap is the same way. Just inspect it quickly. Blow it, or wash it dry, rinse it, use brushes if needed. We have the general purpose brush that comes with all the spray guns. We also send one of these dual-ended white brushes, and they're available separately. And we have these little brooches, and these fine brooches are unique to a SATA because they have a round handle that you can twist in your fingers, but the blade is a thin, flat, flexible blade that you can put into those tiny holes in the brass and twist that, and that flexes and it cuts paint out of there, but it does not cause any distortion to those holes, which are critical for the fan pattern. So again, dual-ended brush, brooch, nylon ended brush, those are important pieces to use for cleaning. Again, clean the needle, wipe it off with a towel or use a brush, whatever is necessary, and then blow everything dry after it's been rinsed with a clean solution. Now, at the end of the day, I would definitely make sure if they're water or solvent that they either have acetone or thinner, depending on which region you're in. But acetone is effective anywhere and can be sold anywhere. Use that to final rinse and then blow dry. Reassembly, simply screw the fluid nozzle in, tighten it with the fluid wrench, put the air cap on, put the needle in. But we need to make sure what's effective. It would be nice daily, but that's probably not going to happen. But at least once a week, they should put grease, and you'll see put grease on the front edge of the needle here, not at the tip, but right here is where, in this section, is where it goes through the fluid packing. And by putting grease on that, it does not allow any paint to stick to it. It slides nicely through that packing. It keeps that packing lubricated, and we don't see any issues with unusual wear on those packings. Also, the spring in the back of the fluid needle, grease that. It keeps it from corroding. It keeps it from squeaking. It helps that turn inside that knob very easily. We also recommend put a little bit of grease on the fluid control knob. Now no paint sticks to those threads. Now on the SATA guns, we make very large, smooth threads that are easy to clean, but by adding grease, you don't have anything hard to clean off. It really keeps them clean. Put the fluid knob back in the gun, and the last place, put a little bit of grease behind the trigger on that air piston on the exposed or visible part, and that helps keep that packing that's inside of here. There's a self-adjusting packing. It keeps it from leaking air, and it keeps paint from sticking to that air piston, and so it doesn't get abrasive and wear on those packings, causing early wear to them. So doing those simple things, it takes maybe at the end of the day 3 minutes. If they do that and put their gun away dry, it really helps. And one thing they have to stop doing is don't take the air cap at night and throw it inside their cup with thinner. We're seeing people that also will take inside the, I'll find a picture here, of the fluid passage. They'll take one of the 3M PPS little red plugs and they'll put thinner or water in there and plug it to try and keep that passage clean. But all that does is put solvent on that fluid packing constantly, and eventually that's going to swell that packing and they're going to leak. And there is no need. If you rinse that out and you blow it dry, put it away dry, there's no need to leave fluid in that passage. And there's also no reason to soak that air cap, because that's an air cap. It isn't a fluid passage at all. If you have paint on the outside, rinse it off. If you can't see through some of the holes, rinse them out. And then put it away dry. Blow it dry, put it away dry, and that seal that you have behind the air cap ring will stay long lasting. It won't swell up, and it just keeps the gun working perfectly. And we can always tell when we get someone that soaks their gun constantly or puts thinner inside their cup at night and throws their air cap in it, because you look inside that air cap and it's completely black instead of bronze colored or brass colored. And when it gets black like that, it's corroded, and it also starts to slow airflow across it, and the air cap just simply does not work as easily, and it also doesn't clean as easily. These are some of the tools that we talked about. So when Mark sends out this PowerPoint presentation or when he saves this up on the website, you can access it so you can know the part numbers for the multiple dual-ended white brushes. For our cleaning kit that has everything inside of it that's here on this page, we have a kit that has the dual-ended brush. It has the nylon brush and brooches, or you can buy the nylon brushes separately, the brooches separately, or a tube of the grease. Now, every single spray gun now that we sell comes out with a 48173 tube of grease, a small sample pack, and it has this part number on the sample so that they know what to reorder. a tuba that lasts a long time in a shop, but it definitely works better than an oil, which washes off at each time you get it in thinner. And we have this cleaning kit called the SATA Care Set. It's a useful tool bag with all the accessories for spray gun cleaning and service. It comes with several of the brushes that you see here, all of these, and the grease, but it also has a place for all of the wrenches that come with every spray gun. It comes with all the Allen wrenches that you're going to need, the tool for removing the air distribution ring. Everything is, there's just extra pockets to hang that or put that in there. The pack folds up so you can carry it around, or it has, as you see, 3 grommets so they can fasten it right above their workbench in the shop so they know always where their cleaning supplies are, and it lists above it all the part numbers for all of the pockets. This is the distribution ring tool for changing that. That comes with every spray gun. You'll notice on the back side of this there's an alignment peg on the 4000. It's right over on the side. On the 3000s it's at the top. And this, there's a pin on the back side of that you just simply line up with that alignment hole, and you just press it in with your thumbs, and then tighten the fluid tip, and the new distribution ring is in there. So should someone damage that with using the wrong brushes, or they get it clogged in behind it, and it's starting to disturb the airflow, you simply remove it with this tool, throw it away, and replace it. Next, we have proper SATA spray gun setups for best efficiency. The best thing that we're seeing lately with the 4000s has been the fact that we can spray it so much lower in air pressure than we were used to. I usually begin spraying base or clear, whether it's an HVLP or an RP, at 26 psi. With base coat, especially when it gets hot and dry, we can go down to much lower than that. We may see when it's real hot and your base coat's drying too fast, you can lower that pressure and spray it down around 22 or 23 pounds. But with clear coat, what people are not used to with an RP is spraying at that low of pressure. They've been used to spraying it at 32 pounds. And at 32, because these 4000s atomize so fine and the droplets are so close together, they drive a lot of the carrying solvent out of the fan if you use too much pressure, and then you have to slow down and or try to apply too much clear coat to get it to flow because it's drying too quickly. Simply turn the air pressure down, start at 26 pounds. They will be amazed at how much less clear they use, at how much smoother the clear coat lays down. It really lays down like glass, and it really makes that an incredible spray gun. We also need to be sure that they understand they can turn that up or down. If the temperature is cooler, you can run it a little higher. If it gets very hot, you can run it lower. And then the last thing here is next thing is make sure that they spray at a closer gun distance. The guns are designed to spray at that 5 to 6 inch range from the panel. It's where the best atomization takes place, the best transfer efficiency. You have incredible gun speed, and you'll notice that the color is much more even. You're going to have an incredible savings in product. If we can get in nice and close, we have the ability with this nozzle design to drive the solvent out fast or the water out very fast and very much improve your efficiencies and use less paint. But because the droplets are so close together with the 4000, it allows you to use less paint because you're having the droplets being closer together, you get coverage faster. So you get faster coverage with less paint. And so certainly for a shop that's looking for efficiency, that's a great way to go. 75% now is the general overlap that we use on some of the tougher colors that we may spray today. You can overlap as much as 90% with these guns and do an incredibly fast work speed, making them a very, very productive and very efficient spray gun. The primer guns, I have three.
Tony?
Oops, sorry, go ahead. Yep.
I'm sorry, before we get too far away from the spray gun maintenance, you mentioned on several slides where ideal places were to apply the grease. Are there places on the gun that you should absolutely make sure you avoid putting any grease?
Well, I guess the main thing is certainly you don't want it right on the tip of the needle. It's not going to cause contamination, but if you have too much right out way on the tip of that needle, it could blow out in a glob, I guess, into a paint job. But other than that, you don't try to fill your air passages with grease, of course. But just simply put it on the main areas that are exposed to paint overspray, like that needle, or you'll have paint on it going through the packing, on that air piston where it goes in and out of a packing, and on those threads on the back of the gun. If you keep those protected with grease, it just makes cleanup so much easier, and people that are using waterborne today find out that if waterborne paint dries on a surface of a gun, it takes friction to get it off. It's not like solvent-borne where you just add thinner and it'll wash itself back off. Once that water is dry, it's like, I guess people my age might remember, it gets like rock candy, you know, and so you wouldn't get it back off that spray gun. So by having that grease on there, it prevents that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. These three primer guns, it's called a SATA Jet 100BF for filler, HVLP, and RP. All three are South Coast Air Quality Management District and EPA approved. The good news is also, Mark, for your area, we just got a letter today that in the state of Illinois, they are allowing guns that are approved by the EPA that are not HVLP, like our RP guns. They are allowing them to be used in Illinois now, in the Chicago and the North Illinois market. So we'll be sending that letter out to everybody tomorrow. I just got it today, and when I got it, I couldn't believe my eyes, so I actually called to do some checking with Springfield to make sure that was true, because Chicago was the last market in the United States that we couldn't use RPs, and so now we can everywhere.
Did that extend up into Wisconsin and over into Indiana?
I have not heard that part yet. So yeah, that they had been following the Illinois rule, but I sent a letter over to Air Quality in I think it was in Green Bay or Madison, sorry, to find out that question. I haven't heard an answer back yet, but I believe that was because that was touching the Great Lake, and they were following Illinois' lead. So what I did is I sent that letter over to Madison and asked them to follow up to see if they're doing the same thing.
Okay.
All right. Next, all three deliver maximum transfer efficiency. When we did the approval testing for the RP version, it even came back with HS material up around 91%. With the HVLP, we're getting up around 93%, and with our polyester gun, we were getting up over 96 and 97% transfer efficiency. So product savings is incredible. We have a nozzle range that we can spray anything from sealer all the way to sprayable polyester with these guns. And all three offer very smooth surfaces for less sanding, less time and labor, and certainly less product wasted. Incredible product savings. But what I'm the most impressed with is when I prime with either the HVLP or the RP, I'll go right from 2K urethane filler to 600 grit sandpaper, and I'm ready for paint. So it definitely can save some steps. And if you're trying to change over shop's business and you want to walk in with your highest dollar primer, it's your best filling product, but show them how to use less of it, you can become much more profitable as a distributor, and the shop can become more profitable on the products he's using and save time, labor, and materials. So it's a win. This gun's been a definite bonus for us. Training. All of the proper training on gun maintenance and gun setup is critical for getting perfect paint jobs. All of this training is now taught in our ICAR approved classes. Certainly as a distributor, you can contact any of your MEDCO sales team to help arrange these classes, and all they have to do is contact our local SATA reps. All of our reps have now been given a package, a complete printed manual. It's in a nice book form, colored, plus having it all on a memory stick that has all of our forms that are needed to be filled out at the classes. We even printed 4 separate full tablets full of all of the paperwork, so the student overviews, the sign-in sheet, and the sheet that gets mailed with the students' checks to ICAR are all already printed for them, so they don't have to go to Kinko's ahead of time. They just peel them off a pad and hand them to the painters that attend. It's a great program. We're glad to have the approval on it. I'll show you in just a second the 3 classes. And we also still offer Rule 40, Section 6H EPA training, because painters are starting to get to a point where it's been almost 5 years since they took the last training on that. And as they go every 5 years, they need to renew that training. But also, if a shop hires a new painter, they have legally 180 days to train that painter on this. So we can go in and do the certifications at the shop level. We'd love it if we can put together maybe at one location where we invite all the shops in an area that have people that haven't been trained. But our guys can also teach that class at vocational school. So when those students do leave vocational school, they carry a certificate with them. So those are important classes. This is an example of our invite form. You can check at the top of this which of the 3 classes you would like to offer or you will be offering. You can make this your own. We can type in who they register with, who is sponsoring this. It lists on here the course highlights. But it's just a nice invitation that can be, our reps carry all of these on memory sticks so they can modify it for your location as a jobber, and then print off multiple copies and use these as handouts. But it lets them know who sponsored it, and here's where you can put in your contact info, et cetera, for people to sign up. The nice thing is, as a distributor, you don't have to handle any of the money for the ICAR classes. When they get done with this, our guys have another sheet that I don't have on here, but we have a worksheet that on their laptop at the clinic, they can fill in everybody's names. When they get to the end of everybody signing in, they can hit print. So if they can hook a printer up, or what we've had happen in many classes so far is if it's held at a shop, use the shop owner's computer in their office to sign people in. At the end, you hit print, and it prints off the necessary information so that at the end there's a blank spot where the student has to sign the form. When they sign that form, we email that form to ICAR, and they have all of your information. All the student has to then do is fill out this one sheet when they leave and send their check to ICAR. So for the 2-hour class, it's $20. It's $10 an hour. For each of the 1-hour classes that we offer, it is a $10 fee. So they mail that check to ICAR. When this sheet hits ICAR, they match it up with a sheet that we sent them, and they get their ICAR credits. So it's pretty simple as a distributor. But in advance, all of our reps carry in their manual, they have a checklist of things they need to do 30 days in advance to help get it ready, a week in advance, et cetera, and the day of. So it's a pretty good program. They've all got the same presentations, but it's a valuable class. And I think by having the ICAR curriculum behind us, it's going to bring a lot of painters wanting classes. And certainly we want to turn it into a selling event. Would suggest making sure from MEDCO that we get with these jobbers ahead of time and discuss what we're going to do for a special or something so that the people that attend can buy something. But I know for 3 years when we did the Rule 6H classes, our average sales at clinics across the U.S. was $7,800 at each clinic. So that was an incredible way to sell product to informed customers. Lastly, the SATA 4 airbrushes. We have 3 versions. We have the gravity feed at the top, the siphon feed on the right-hand side. I have a picture of the side feed SATA 4. All 4 of them, part numbers are easy. They're S004, and it's either a B model, which is, B stands for Baker, which is a German word for gravity feed. And so that's why we call it a B gun. We have the H gun, which for them meant hanging Baker, so they call it a Jet H. And then we have the side feed, which we just call the S. So that's the 3 part numbers. All 3 of those airbrushes use the same needle and nozzle and fluid tip set. And we have a 3-gun kit. And the 3-gun kit has 1 of each. It has fittings that fit on the bottom of all 3 of the spray guns. It has a quick coupler hose that has the 1/4-inch line on the one end to fasten to a nipple that you can plug into any regular air hose. And the other end has a quick coupler that goes on the airbrush. It has all 3 of the metal cups, and it has also glass jars for the side feed and the siphon feed, and extra disposable lids for the gravity for the siphon and the side feed. So it's a great kit. All of the 3 of these airbrushes have a list price of $149. So it's been one of the best priced airbrushes that we've ever offered, definitely. But the quality on these things is amazing. The 3-gun kit, list price for all of the stuff, the hoses, the fittings, all the extra lids, the bottles, and all 3 airbrushes, and the case, list price is $479. So incredibly low price with great quality. Now on the airbrushes, you'll notice on this air cap in the front, most airbrush artists that use an airbrush remove that front air cap shield so that they can expose their fluid tip for doing it in tighter detail, but it's also so that when they start getting tip dry, they can pick the paint off there very easily and just keep painting. But the problem is every time they take off that little air cap, they risk losing it. This one is cool because we did a reversal on it where it's machined so that it screws on, reverses and screws back onto the airbrush, still exposes the tip, allows you to get tight detail and do tip dry picking, but it isn't lost. Everything is solvent resistant, incredibly smooth Teflon coated trigger design that does not have as many of the components as many of the other airbrushes out there. A revolutionary air piston design that's smooth and easy to use and durable. and a list price of $149. Plus, what's nice is it's engineered in Germany, but we're having it all built right here in America. So that's what's real cool. We're proud to have that, and we're glad to have it at that price point. But other benefits, things like if you have to buy a whole nozzle set for this, needle, fluid tip, inner air cap, and the outer air cap shield, list price is about $31 for the whole nozzle set. Or you can just buy things individually. So if they just need a paint needle, it's less than $7 list price. If they need a fluid tip, it's about $6.95. So they're very, very inexpensive and high quality. So we're happy with the price point. Definitely, we think we can sell a lot of them. So that's going to be important. I know we're giving away one of these Graph 4 airbrushes to one of the jobber distributors that are online tonight. So Mark will get that report tomorrow, and then they'll do a random drawing to see who wins that. So we're excited about it, and we're glad to have MEDCO as a partner on selling the airbrushes. So that's, thank you everyone. Certainly we appreciate your business. If you have any questions, you can type those to Mark now, and I'll be glad to answer them.
Tony, if you could back up one slide to the airbrushes.
Yep.
Can you give our audience some sense of potential, what the market really is out there on airbrushes?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, something that surprised us because I've done a lot of research on this over the last few years getting ready for this. And one thing that we did not realize is how many airbrushes are sold. Talking to a couple of other airbrush manufacturers, but I'll mention one in particular, talking with Badger. They're big into industry that's not necessarily automotive refinish painters, but they sell 12,000 airbrushes a month to people like the cake industry, bakeries, everything from model car artists, which I did not realize how many thousands of those there are. But we just had a show in Cologne, Germany, that's a toy fair, and there was about 25,000 model car builders at that show. And so it's I didn't realize there was such a thing. There was such a market for that. But that's going to be a big price point advantage for us, is having these kind of pieces, because people that want to buy these will spend $149 for a enormously quality product. We're thrilled about that. Painters that are used to spraying solvent or waterborne material, this handles either one very well. At SEMA this year, we had several artists in our booth doing some very detailed paint work using waterborne material. It's designed to handle both solvent or water. So we're really excited about it. There's an enormous market for airbrushes, and certainly there's a lot of people who own a body shop that have kids or someone in their shop that wants to learn how to airbrush. We're also offering, just so you guys are all aware, and I'm going to email it to Mark, a PDF of a poster and of a flyer for Mickey Harris. And I think, didn't you just send that out also? I thought I saw something from you. Okay. Mickey Harris is teaching classes for us across the country. Incredible artist. He's very well renowned for his artwork, military-wise, doing tributes. He was the one that just did that tribute, the Camaro for 9/11. He's done several things for trucks called Standing Proud and the Heroes truck and things like that, but he does an incredible range of classes. His classes, if you take a 4-hour class with Mickey, everybody he brings in, he can have as many as 30 people in them. He'd like to do 3 or 4 classes in a week in an area since he travels in, but he brings with him 30 airbrushes so that every painter that comes to it has an airbrush to use while they're there. Everybody turns out a custom panel that he taught them how to do. So he will give you a list of things that he may need, but he'll use whatever paint you sell, particularly in waterborne, and it doesn't matter which brand. He'll ask for like 5 colors, a black toner, a white toner, red, yellow, and blue, his primary colors, and he'll use those for teaching these classes, and it's really an incredible learning curve. It's designed, the ones we're doing now are designed for the beginners or for people that maybe paint a lot, but they want to learn how to do something custom. So they can add something to their shop repertoire, but he teaches how to use these airbrushes. And then we offer, and we'll do that through MEDCO, a special to the jobber for the class. So if they want to order in ahead of time some of the airbrushes, we'll do a guaranteed sale on them so that you can bring them back later if you don't sell them. But I can tell you, we did a test out in Seattle with it just recently, where we had 3 classes, and in 3 nights we sold 83 airbrushes, and we sold also about 70 hoses, and we sold about 105 total fittings for the airbrushes, where people had wanted different fittings and couplers and different things. So it was a pretty profitable event. He also will have our reps at that, where they'll be asked to have on display the other things. So I mean, it could be they'll have DAs on, represented, or gloves or whatever stuff, all laying on the table so that the painters get a chance to use that. So it's a great class. It's $75 for the 4-hour class, which is a pretty cheap investment for someone to learn something like this. So it's definitely a pretty cool course. So that's so far what I know about airbrushes.
All right, Tony. Well, we really appreciate the information tonight. A lot of valuable insight. First and foremost, knowing what shops are going through these days, and how we as salespeople can help our customers, produce better work, and therefore obviously staying in business longer, and hopefully making us more profitable. I think you bring up some really good points about the Rule 6H, which it's hard to believe, but you're right. It's coming up on 5 years, and all those recertifications will certainly probably add some valuable revenue to our industry and to all of our companies. So that's something to look forward to. Again, thank you very much for hosting tonight's MEDCO University, and more importantly, thank you to all the guests out there. Thank you for attending tonight, giving up your own personal time to perhaps get a step ahead in our industry and make a difference, and we really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you all soon. Thank you.